What's up, everybody? Today I have a haul of inexpensive cologne fragrances. These are very interesting. A couple of them really surprised me, really impressed me. I want to tell you all about them, but before I do, remember to subscribe to the channel if you haven't done that yet. I've got videos coming out about every 2 days, and I hope you'll join us. Also, give the like button a click. And let me know down in the comments, what experience have you had with any of these clones? I'd love to have a little dialogue. All right, so I'm going to talk about a company that many of you have told me in comments when I've mentioned a fragrance from this company, that this company needs to have way more people talking about it. People rag on it or dog it, but they don't actually know what they're talking about. And that's been my experience as well. I've gotten some amazing fragrances from this brand, for the price anyway. And then I've gotten a couple that I thought were just very average. So the company that I'm talking about is Parfums Belcam. The company reached out to me and they said, hey, can we send you a box of fragrances and you just give your honest thoughts about them on a video? And that's what I intend to do. So let's go ahead and jump in. The first one, I'll tell you, the original is a fragrance that my son recently asked for his birthday. My boys have been getting into fragrances the last couple years. And one of my sons asked for Paco Rabanne Phantom. He just likes the bottle. He actually really enjoys the way it smells as well. This one is called AI. It is a clone of Paco Rabanne Phantom. And I got to tell you that this right here, it's a pretty simplistic fragrance. It is sort of a vanillic fragrance with some fruitiness and a touch of aromatics. It's a very simple bottle right here. But if you have smelled Paco Rabanne Phantom, whenever you spray this on, you're going to know this is Paco Rabanne Phantom. My son sprayed it on and he said, Dad, it smells exactly like it. That was his first impression of spraying this on. He's 11, right? So, take that for what it is. But I can tell you, I do think this smells a whole heck of a lot like Paco Rabanne Phantom. And this one in particular, I think this was one of them that, whenever you spray it, there's not like a funky alcohol blast. There's not any sort of weirdness in the fragrance profile. It doesn't taste very good. I can tell you that as well. So this one's a pretty good clone of Paco Rabanne Phantom. I recommend it if you like that DNA. All right, this next one. This one is a clone of Paco Rabanne Invictus. Now, this is one that most of us are going to be familiar with. I have the original Invictus. I've gone through about half a bottle, so I'm very familiar with the fragrance profile. I wore this to my kids' basketball game on Friday night, just a couple nights ago. It's the only time I've wore it. I think I sprayed it probably about 10 times. I will tell you this one, when you first spray it on, it does have sort of a alcohol cheap kind of chemical vibe whenever you first spray it on. That's definitely there. But once it settles down, once it settles in, I'm just sitting there at the basketball game and I'm thinking, yeah, it smells like I'm wearing Invictus. It's not as strong or as loud as Invictus. Invictus, the original, my bottle's probably 4 or 5 years old, and it's pretty stout. It's pretty potent. This is not as potent, but as far as the quality of what it smells like, once that alcohol settles down, it smells like you're wearing Paco Rabanne Invictus. And so this one, again, I would say for $10, if you just want something that is fresh and sweet and really versatile, this is going to get you pretty close to the Paco Rabanne. All right, this next one. Actually, I'm going to do a different one next. This one is really interesting. I'll tell you, I have not smelled the original of this fragrance. So this is a clone of, I'll show you the box, Polo Supreme Oud. I have not smelled the original. But I was very interested whenever I saw that they made this fragrance because, Polo, you think of, mass-pleasing, a fragrance you could go to like Belk's and buy or something like that. Supreme Oud. What could Polo do with Oud? So I was definitely interested when I saw this. And so I've worn it a couple times now, and I will tell you, This fragrance smells very, very good. The oud in this fragrance, as soon as I sprayed it on, it reminded me of, I have a little bottle from an indie house. Yeah, Willow Cosmetics. Who has ever even heard of this brand? But this is called Chocolate Oud. It's basically, a chocolate smelling oud. This fragrance, as soon as I sprayed it on, it reminded me so much of that right there. I haven't even looked up the notes. Unfortunately, I probably should have done that. But this is not like oud, saffron, rose. It doesn't have the texture of something like a, oud for greatness or, like Haltane or something like that. It doesn't have that kind of a texture with the oud. This is a smooth, dark, kind of chocolatey oud fragrance. It reminded me a little bit, honestly, of the oud in the Pardon, Nascimato Pardon. That's what it reminded me of. And so this one, I can't tell you how close it is to the original, but I can tell you it is a smooth, very attractive oud fragrance. And this one also does not have any of that initial kind of alcohol funk that you get with Gladiator, the clone of Invictus. Performance on this one is decent. I can tell you for 6 or 7 hours, you can smell it, although it becomes a skin scent after a couple hours. But I was very impressed with this one, that they could make a fragrance for $10 that has such a beautiful chocolatey oud. And so, I would recommend this one. All right, next up. This one is my favorite in the whole lot. I've got one more that I'll tell you about after this one. But this one right here is a clone of my favorite Tom Ford fragrance, Tobacco Vanille. And this one it's a twist on Tobacco Vanille, but it's a twist that I freaking love for a couple reasons. So, Tom Ford Tobacco Vanille, you've got a dark, rich, sweet vanilla. You've got a very discernible tobacco, kind of like a pipe tobacco. And then you've got licorice, clove, cinnamon. You've got these very vibrant, sweet spices. This one it's so freaking good. This is a licorice forward Tom Ford Tobacco Vanille. That's what it smells like to me. Tom Ford Tobacco Vanille with licorice at the forefront, and then, cinnamon and clove and maybe cardamom. Tom Ford doesn't tell you the actual spices that are in it, but that's what you get. If you like the licorice vibe of the Tom Ford, and I'll tell you, some people say that Tom Ford Tobacco Vanille reminds them of root beer. And it totally does. Root beer has a lot of the same spices in it. This one, as soon as I sprayed it, one of my sons said, that smells exactly like root beer. And if you look online, people say this smells like root beer. I love root beer. I love licorice. I love tobacco, spicy, vanilla fragrances. I've got a bunch of them. This one is a licorice forward Tom Ford Tobacco Vanille, and it's a beast. I mean, I sprayed this on the other night, probably like 8 o'clock at night. And whenever I took a shower at 7 a.m. the next morning, the sweet vanilla was still very, very present on my arms. Now, was the entire fragrance profile there? No, but the vanilla and some of that tobacco, that rich vanilla tobacco, was still very much there. This is easily an 8 to 10 hour fragrance without question. And if you like a spicy, licorice dominant, you can still get the other spices version of Tobacco Vanille. This one right here is a banger and by far my favorite out of this lot. All right, the last one. This one is a clone of Dolce Gabbana Light Blue, the original. And this one, to be honest with you, I haven't experimented with it much. I like Light Blue, but I like Oh Intense better. I like Forever better. Italian Love I don't own, but I've smelled it in the store. I like it better. But this is a crowd-pleasing summer fragrance. It's every year one of the best-selling fragrances. And this fragrance right here, a good representation of that fragrance profile but you do get some of that kind of alcohol, blast in the opening of this fragrance, just like with the Gladiator. It's probably because of the type of fragrance it is. Both of those two are sort of lighter, aquatic kind of fragrances, and so there's not anything strong enough to overpower the alcohol in the opening, is what I'm guessing. But this one in the opening, especially for the first hour or so, you're going to get Dolce Gabbana Light Blue. I will tell you, in the dry down of Light Blue, there is this woody musky vibe. It's in O Intense also, that comes out and becomes a dominant part of the last 75% of the fragrance. And that's one of the reasons I don't love the original Light Blue. This one doesn't have as much of that in the dry down, and to be honest, I haven't tested enough to know how long it lasts. So I would say that this one is, it's average. Does it smell like Light Blue? Yes. Is it a cheap, fresh, citrus aquatic fragrance? Yes. Some of the differences in the dry down are going to be noticeable for sure. So that's been 5 of them. I'll tell you, I have been impressed with this brand. Again, I've done videos on this brand. I've bought every single one of them up until this video. I've always bought all of the fragrances myself. They did send me these for free, but these are still my genuine, honest thoughts. And I'll tell you again, if you want something that will freaking blow you away, if you like licorice and you like Tom Ford Tobacco Vanille, get this right here. It is awesome. I'll also tell you this Polo Supreme Oud, very, very impressive. I have really enjoyed this one. Chocolatey oud, dark, rich. These are 2 real standouts. The Invictus clone is pretty good. As I said, the opening's got a little of that alcohol blast. It also, I don't remember if I said this initially, it didn't have the longevity or the strength of Invictus. I would guess this is probably a 6 or 7 hour fragrance, whereas Invictus is easily 8+ hours, but it's still pretty good. And then the shades of blue, the light blue or the light blue clone, I would say, it's decent. So that has been my thoughts on these 5 fragrances from Parfums Belcam. I'll put some links down in the description where you can pick them up. But again, let me know your thoughts down in the comments. I'm Justin. This has been See Ya Since.